Tonight, IRB suspends 3.3 million funding to FRU. Foreign governments deliver on their promise to help. And more fire stations to be constructed this year. The IRB has suspended its $3.3 million financial support to the Fiji Rugby Union. This until Rugby House adopts key financial reporting, administration and governance reforms. The suspension follows the FRU's failure to implement recommended measures to address significant concerns regarding the administration and governance of the union. More on this to come in sports. The body of the 19-year-old student who went missing while swimming yesterday afternoon has been recovered. The missing teenager had accompanied his church group for a break-up party at Natandola Beach, Singatoka, yesterday morning. At around 4:15 p.m, the student had gone for a swim when he was allegedly caught in the strong current and swept away into deeper waters. The alarm was raised, and with assistance from staff of a nearby resort, a search was immediately conducted. The body is now at Singatoka Hospital awaiting post-mortem. 3 people have so far drowned this year. Meanwhile, a fire here in the village of Lami destroyed a 4-bedroom house. While NFA is still carrying out investigations, it's alleged that this fire was a result of a domestic dispute. There's also been another fire in Solevi in Nandi. This has increased the total number of fires this year to 7. A 13-year-old boy has been hospitalized after he sustained burns while lighting a bamboo gun. The victim was lighting the bamboo gun in front of their family house with his younger brother, when the kerosene inside splashed on him, setting his clothes on fire. The victim sustained burns and was taken to the Nosori Health Center before being transferred to the CWM hospital. Police is calling on parents and guardians to closely monitor their children's activities, especially in situations that could prove fatal. The number of structural fires recorded on an annual basis is an increasing concern for the National Fire Authority. To help reduce this, the NFA will this year construct more fire stations.
It's part of the authority's goal to reduce the number of property fires. While the authority fell short of meeting last year's target, a strategy on how to improve services this year is now in place.
We utilizing the media, TV, also the newspapers and everything. We are doing reviewing it and looking forward in terms of putting together a very aggressive awareness program that's always in your face, that can remind you of important features of fire safety, and we hope to roll that out very soon.
With government assistance, more fire stations will be constructed in rural areas.
Government provided funding for the Korovu Fire Station, and also in terms of Korleu Fire Stations. We are in the process of finalizing and the project plans and everything, so that we can commence those 2 projects. And hopefully we've targeted to complete these 2 fire stations before the end of the year.
New fire trucks are expected in the country in the middle of the year to replace some of the old fleet.
In terms of arranging visits to country fire authority in Australia to look at the conditions of the trucks, and hopefully we can bring in new trucks to replace the fleet that we have and slowly phase out we've got quite a few old fleet, and we hope to buy new trucks and slowly retiring some of our old fleet, which have done the job for quite some time.
Ndreu Bukelangi, Fiji One News.
Fiji's commitment to holding elections in September has not gone unacknowledged, with countries meeting their promise to assist. Just days after Korea donated vehicles, Papua New Guinea's assistance will be received in March. Ndreu Bukelangi with the details.
Positive signs from the election office that donors will be ready to assist come September. With PNG the first to show, others donors are expected to come on board in the near future.
Yes, there have been other donor or development partners that we've been speaking to, and of course now that we've got the positions being advertised, and a lot more work has been carried out by the experts and the consultants, and we hope to, with those working documents, meet with the development partners in the next few weeks to identify various areas of contribution.
The presence of overseas experts in election office already an indication of what is expected from donors.
The fact that these consultants and specialists are here, that is a contribution or donation. We are not paying for their upkeep or their expertise. It's being donated by those countries or those organizations. We have spoken to various other organizations like UNDP in relation to elections. And we hope that with some of these working documents we'll be able to have more focused meetings with them.
There is, however, a plan for those who want to assist.
There are some countries, for example, have offered various types of assistance. For example, as we've already said previously, India has offered things like indelible ink. These things all, amount to expenses. The other countries were verbally said that they would, for example, provide polling booth kits. So there's a number of those types of, offers have been made. We now need to focus on them and say, okay, who will be doing what?
PNG has committed $40 million to assist Fiji in the election. Nrubukelangi, Fiji One News.
The Methodist Church has started off the year implementing decisions made at last year's conference. The church's 56 divisions are now following a church connectional plan that should bring some changes to the lives of the members.
The biggest church denomination in the country is already embarking on a new journey they believe will bring much needed change to members. Starting with the 56th division, the plan will then be carried out at circuit level.
Ensuring that it remains focused on the family and encouraging the enrichment of the family as the foundation of society, its interaction with other churches and other faiths, as well as things like in the environment, stewardship of creation, how we address the issues of climate change. These are all important issues, not just for the people of Fiji, but also for the church.
The connection plan has been designed to meet the current needs of members.
We have a number of churches or divisions that are piloting this project. Some of them have begun looking more specific into how each of these key strategic areas can be implemented within in their church.
It is expected that the approach will be different from those in the urban and those living in the rural areas.
For the rural churches, there is a different area in terms of looking at the use of land and things like that. So it's a matter of how each of these different types of divisions spread all over Fiji can look to implement this for not just the salvation of the people, but also the nurturing of the land, the healing of the nation as well.
Nrubukelangi, Fiji One News.
After the break, Ban Ki-moon acknowledges Fiji's effort at G77 meet. The Social Democratic Liberal Party is still yet to name its party leader. General Secretary Pio Tambaiwalu says they've shortlisted candidates who've applied for the position and will release the name sometime soon.
Even that's a confidence. I'm not a secretary to that selection committee, so I respect that confidentiality. So it's with the party selection committee. So yeah, they have their own timetable.
Police are appealing for information that could help identify a vehicle that was involved in a hit-and-run case last night. The incident occurred at around 10:30 p.m. along the FSC road in Lambasa, where a male was hit by an unknown vehicle on its way to Mbulileka. The victim is currently admitted at the Lambasa hospital, and due to injuries sustained, police is yet to identify who he is. 2 eyewitnesses saw the accident take place, however were not able to identify the vehicle. Anyone with information is requested to call the nearest police station or community post. Fiji has been acknowledged for the role it played in advancing developing countries' interests at high-level talks. At the recent handover of the G77 leadership, Fiji's role as the major player in advancing MDGs and recently the 2015 Agenda consultation was highlighted.
Beginning at the highest possible level of your government, you have made yourself readily available to the group and provided the necessary leadership and guidance during what must have been a very difficult year.
UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon adding Fiji during its leadership has ensured developing countries are represented in high-level discussions.
You provided important leadership in a year that was critical in accelerating efforts to achieve the Millennium Development Goals and follow up on the decisions made at the Rio Plus 20 summit meeting.
And to world news, the UN is demanding Australia's government address allegations of forcing asylum seeker boats back to Indonesia. The move could be breaking international law, but as TVNZ's Rebecca Edwards reports, Tony Abbott unrepentant.
Stopping asylum seeker boats is something the Australian Prime Minister says needs to be a secret operation. But following reports the Australian Navy recently turned back 2 asylum seeker boats to Indonesia, the United Nations is demanding the Australian government open up and address the claims that it says could be breaking international laws.
If people who are in need of international protection seek a country's safety, then they must be allowed to go through a process which helps to determine if these people are in need of international protection or not.
The Abbott government's come under fire for refusing to release details of the reported incidents.
This is pure arrogance from Tony Abbott and Scott Morrison. They prefer to treat everybody like mushrooms and keep us in the dark.
Tony Abbott, though, is standing by his government's silent stance.
We are in a fierce contest with these people smugglers, and if we were at war, we wouldn't be giving out information that is of use to the enemy.
But some Indonesian politicians fear the situation could escalate.
Because if this turning back the boat policy keeps going, I worry that it would not only cause foreign affairs rejection, but could be followed up by military action from the Navy, from Indonesian military.
United Nations officials in Indonesia are now interviewing people from the 2 boats that were allegedly turned back from Australian territory.
The sudden resignation of the Central African Republic's President Michel Djotoja has been greeted with shooting and dancing. President Djotoja seized power in a coup last year held by a Muslim rebel movement called the Silika. Since then, there's been bitter sectarian violence with fighting against rival Christian militia.
This was the moment the Christians heard Michel Djotoja had stepped down. We think he's mocking the former president's wife. The bow and arrow belonged to a fighter with the anti-Balaka, the Christian militia. Their arms are crude, the rifles homemade. Magic amulets stop bullets from the enemy's machine guns. My amulets made it easy to kill Muslim soldiers, he says. They helped force a president to resign.
There's quite a mood of triumphalism among the Christian vigilantes, the anti-Balaka. The question now is whether the president's resignation will spur them on to try to seek revenge.
The Seleka slaughtered our people like animals, says the commander here. We had to kill them to make them afraid of us. But, he goes on, there's been enough killing. It should stop now. Some aren't listening. This afternoon, a mosque was attacked. They demolished it, brick by brick. Some Christians can't forget what happened to them. His hands were tied, his brother tells me. Then they cut his throat. Some 900,000 people, Christians and Muslims, have fled such violence. They just want to go back to the way things were. But on the streets of Bangui, a toxic mix of hysteria and hatred. So much blood has flowed here already. The wild men may determine what happens next in the Central African Republic.
Ahead in sport, FRU looks for solutions to get IRB funding back. And Bar to go into CVC's second leg with a home ground advantage.